I just hope they can look at my story and look at me and be like, my mom can do this, I can do this.
Mayci Neeley is a writer, creator, and one of the faces behind Mom Talk and Hulu's The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Being a mom scared me, so we're not fun anymore. Mom Talk kind of brought out that fun, confident side of me again that I missed.
In her new memoir, Told You So, Mayci opens up about growing up Mormon, becoming a mom at 20, and finding her voice amid social media fame.
I'm doing my best. I am a good person, regardless of the culture, what people say, that doesn't matter to me anymore.
Mayci, we are thrilled to have you. Many people know you from TikTok and more recently, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Why did you want to tell your story now and in this way?
I feel like it's because when I was going through everything, I felt so alone. I felt like I had no one to relate to. And you see social media and everyone's living their best life. And I was meanwhile, I was living my worst. And so for me at the time, I wish I had someone like me to relate to what I was going through, because I felt like I was the first person to ever experience it, which I know obviously that's not true, but that's how it felt because I wasn't seeing anyone talk about it. And so I feel like since then, the last 10 years, I always knew I wanted to write a book to help other people who may have felt like me or may be currently going through something similar, or maybe they are in a new relationship and they're kind of seeing red flags. Maybe if they read this, they'll maybe never enter that relationship or continue it. It's kind of the goal with everything.
It's both things, right? It's sort of your darkest moments, but also your success. Those things are both, they're two sides of the same coin in some way. And the way you started, I love the story about your dad giving you the blank journal. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that is what has been the most full circle for me, because if I never got that journal, I may not have ever written this book. And so my dad came into my room when I was, a little salty, just came home from being pregnant, kind of living under my parents' roof again. And he handed it to me and he said, I want you to write everything down, the good, the bad, the ugly, when you're mad, when you're even mad at me and mom, when you're sad, write it all down. And maybe one day you can use these words to help someone else and write a book. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But then I think when I was feeling frustrated and I felt like I had no one to talk to, and so I'd write in my journal and I just started writing and it became therapeutic for me. And that's kind of what inspired writing the book to begin with, was that. I don't think I ever would have written it if that wouldn't have happened.
You talk a lot about having not listened to your gut and regretting that. There's one scene, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything, but when you suspect that Eric is maybe cheating, stepping out on you when you were in Denver, and you said, and I just pushed it away, but your gut has really led you to where you are.
Oh, I think so, for sure. I had that moment, and I had another moment in my previous relationship, in my abusive relationship, where it was the very beginning, and I just had this, my body was telling me not to go out with this guy, and I didn't listen. And I didn't know what it was though, because it was so crazy, where I physically felt ill and I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I think it was my gut telling me stay away. And I didn't listen to it. And then that's what happened. I look back and I'm my body was telling me, physically telling me to get away from this person, and I didn't listen.
Well, and that leads me to my next question, which is about growing up Mormon and how there are so many rules, and you were very serious about not breaking rules when you were younger. How do you hold affection for your faith and community that in some ways teaches you to override some of your gut instincts while also critiquing the things that, weren't good for you?
Yeah, I think it's because I just had to, as I've gotten older, live it my own way. Having certain guidelines that I know are there for a reason that can protect me and keep me happy, but also not agreeing with some of them as well. And I think when I was younger, I didn't have that balance. I didn't understand the difference kind of. And as I've gotten older and, understood more of who I am, who is Mayci, that's when I kind of have figured out kind of more of how I can be an active member of the church, but also have my reservations in some areas and what I like to do that maybe doesn't go along with the guidelines. And so I think I'm in a spot right now where I feel happy with that.
You open with a heartbreaking story about the death of your son's father while also trying to keep your tennis scholarship at BYU. For those in the audience who may not know what happened, can you share a bit about that time in your life?
Yeah, no, it was obviously the hardest time of my life. Losing my son's father, even to this day, has been the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Every March, which is the month he passed away, and I still feel that dread and that gloom, even over 10 years later now.
How did you handle grief and new motherhood at the same time?
I don't think I've ever felt like real love until I had like a child. And I was like, this is just like a whole new level of love and happiness. And so navigating that, but then there were still moments of like that grief would peek in. Like I had so much joy in my heart, and I honestly felt like a new person when I became a mom, because I was so severely depressed being pregnant. And the only thing I had to look forward to, honestly, was like my son coming to the world. But I also was navigating like friendships and things like that. So that grief would still come in waves. But
Yeah.
I'm grateful because my son kind of helped overcome the grief.
You write about the shame you felt time and time again when speaking with the bishop, how he made you feel that having been sexually assaulted was your fault. Mm-hmm. What advice can you give to women who have been in similar positions, and especially those in pretty strict religious communities?
I would say like something that my parents always told me growing up was that like the gospel of like Jesus Christ and God, like that is like true, that's the core. That the people in the church are not perfect. Like they are not God. They are not perfect. So like they're going to make mistakes. And so like I have to chalk it up to that. Like number one, I'm not saying it's okay, because it's not. I think looking back, I may not have navigated it the same way that I did, but I did like what we thought I had to do in that moment. Kind of like what's traditional. Like you get pregnant, you do these things, you like go repent to your bishop. I think I would have figured it out on my own, kind of having my own repentance process with myself, like between me and God, because I think that's what matters most to me is mm-hmm. like my relationship with God, not this bishop.
When news of your pregnancy got out, you were told to withdraw from the university for violating the honor code. Can you talk about some of the rules you had to follow?
Yeah, so like the honor code, like the main rules are like no sex before marriage. And even with that, it's like nothing sexual besides kissing, no drinking, no drugs.
The honor code didn't throw you off your game. In fact, it seemed to have emboldened you. You pivoted to accepting the fact that you could take a year off, do what you had to do, get back on campus. In this moment with all the feelings, how were you able to still be so optimistic about your future?
I think I had to be, because if I didn't, then I wouldn't be here. You know, I think like when you're that low in life, the only way to move forward is to look up. Like I could choose to look at the glass half empty, but then I'd probably be really depressed for a long time and miserable. And so I had to choose and make the decision in my brain to like switch things off and make it a positive. And I still do that to this day, like
without sort of deluding yourself.
Exactly.
Right? You talk about your ex-boyfriend and how he tried to harm himself in front of you and how he physically and sexually assaulted you. There is a line where you say, part of me feels that I'm being abused too, but I don't want to admit it. It's too painful and embarrassing. I don't want to be a victim.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what helped you move from not wanting to admit it to actually calling it out?
I honestly think what really helped me was therapy. When I talk about the part in the book where I finally see a therapist for the first time and he says it out loud, I was like, I always knew like that was happening. I just didn't want to admit it. I don't know the reasoning. I think mostly it's because I would feel weak if I like said it. Like, and I don't want to feel weak. I want to feel strong. And so I think that in the moments in therapy when he's like, you are a victim of this, like, and that's okay. Like, you're not weak because of it. Like, you are strong. But like, this did happen to you and it's not your fault. And I think that's what kind of got me through it, because I did hold a lot of guilt and blame and I didn't want to be this victim, you know? And I'm like, the same thing can be true. Like, you can be a victim and still be strong. It doesn't mean you're weak because you're a victim. Once you get out of an abusive relationship, yeah, it's very obvious to see the red flags, but when you're in it, it's not.
And also it sort of speaks to the power of language, like it's just that switch from victim to survivor.
Yeah.
Especially with messages of it's your fault coming even from your own bishop.
Exactly. So that made it, amplified it. And so I think that's why I do obviously still hold resentment and talk about that, is because I think it did delay my healing quite a bit, because I did feel like, oh my gosh, it was my fault because, you know, I had sex after the fact. So it is my fault that that happened, you know, like I just, a lot of the blame like laid on me.
At one point when you met Eric and you developed a certain level of trust, you write, I start to black out every time we drink. It helps me push away the trauma from everything with Dick, and it lets me have fun. Like everything else, sex feels less problematic when I'm drinking.
Yeah.
So obviously blacking out, not a great thing for anyone. No. But in looking back on it, how do you think you were sort of protecting yourself?
I think just the memories of my assault and things like that, what I went through with my abusive relationship, blacking out made it easier, I would say, because like those memories would come flooding back to me a lot, especially that quickly after that relationship. It made it really difficult in my sexual relationships. Even when I got married, I talk about it a little bit, how like I thought that everything would be fine, like all dandy, because me and my husband waited for marriage. And so I was like, what time? I'm like, I'm ready to go, you know, right? And like, it wasn't what I expected, because like that trauma never went away. I thought since I brushed it under the rug, it's gone. It wasn't. And so I think that's part of the reason, like in the past I'd black out, but now I don't drink anymore. So what do I do? It's like, I don't know what's happening to me, you know? And so I had to go back to therapy for that, for the sexual trauma.
You did a lot of work.
Yeah.
It sounds like you write, it dawns on me that my grief for Eric is entangled with my unhealed trauma from my relationship, abusive relationship with Dick. And you write that you still get triggered. What has helped specifically? What kind of therapy has helped?
I did EMDR, and that was really helpful for me. I think too, once I understood what triggered me, that was helpful, because then I know like, oh, maybe I don't want it like pitch black in my room, you know, like when I'm intimate with my husband, like certain things that would trigger me, I had to like learn that like, okay, this is something that I don't want to do. And communicating, because I wasn't always great at communicating, because I just be like, like it's fine.
It's a tough love.
Yeah, it's the tough love, and it's like also being like, you're fine, like. And so I think once I realized, no, that makes me uncomfortable, and like my relationship is never going to progress in that way if I don't take care of this. And so I think I am someone that loves to brush things under the rug, and I'm avoidant. And so like I learned that I have to communicate better and address things in therapy and work through them to, you know, feel happy and have a good relationship with my partner.
First of all, for those who don't know EMDR, can you explain how it works and how it works for you specifically?
It desensitizes you to your trauma, so you kind of relive it in a sense, and by doing that you're desensitized to it to where it doesn't affect you as much. So what I did is they gave me a stack of note cards, and I looked through all of them, and they're different things like I blame myself, or I feel unworthy, like there's a bunch of different things, and you think about the traumatic situation, you look at all those cards, and you try to figure out what is the root of this problem, like why is it still so traumatic for me. And so for me, I got down through all the cards, I got it down to like 5 and then 3 and then 2, and I decided for me it was like I need to forgive myself is like what I learned. It was like my root, at least for this traumatic event, is that I don't forgive myself yet, and I blame myself for it.
You write, Mom Talk made me more confident. Explain this to us. What is Mom Talk, and how did the group bring this out in you?
Yeah, I was kind of in the phase of, once I became a mom, I thought like, oh, I can't wear this anymore. I can't do that. And I kind of wrote that in the book of like how I went through all my clothes, and like my sister was like, you're not going to wear this when you're a mom. So I was like, oh my gosh, like it's almost like being a mom scared me, like, so we're not fun anymore. Like, you know what I mean? And so I think Mom Talk kind of brought that back out of me, where I was like, I'm able to have fun. I'm able to do all these things, because my, in a way, childhood was cut a little short becoming a mom, because I became one so young, that Mom Talk kind of brought out that like fun, confident side of me again that I missed.
And probably makes you a better mom, because you're having fun.
Having fun and like having mom friends and, you know.
Were you concerned at all about the negative backlash from the Mormon community with the show or your book?
It was actually kind of hard for me in the beginning, because I'm like, all those people who are saying, you're not Mormon enough, you're not Mormon, like that's not what Mormons do. And it was like kind of frustrating, because I'm like, well, I am active in the church, and I actually teach children in the church, so it was a little frustrating, and it like I didn't like the judgmental culture coming back out.
At one point in the book, you say, over the years I've become more of a feminist, and in the corporate world someone is always determining my worth, and I resent it.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to be a Mormon feminist, do you think?
I mean, I am, so I think yeah, I guess so. Yeah, if anyone says otherwise, like that's their problem. Like I have to live my life and do me, and that's just what it is. And that's my perspective on everything now, is like, I'm living my life, I'm doing my best, I am a good person, and regardless of like the culture, what people say, that doesn't matter to me anymore.
I love how this book reads like an elevated but detailed diary about resilience and bouncing back. You now have 3 kids, a 10-year-old, a 4-year-old daughter, and a brand new baby girl.
Yes.
What do you hope to teach them about resilience?
I just hope they like can look at my story and look at me and be like, my mom can do this, I can do this, like anything, because life is going to throw curveballs. There's so many things that are unexpected in life that you never thought you would have to deal with. And I just hope that they know, like, no matter what, they'll be able to get through that, and I'll be right by their side no matter what. Like, very open. I want them to feel so comfortable telling me anything, and I hope that they can read this and know, like, I honestly, like, my mom's a badass, and I can be too. Like, that's what I hope, you know, and that's why I brought them to New York. I wanted them to see the book tour, so they grew up and have hopefully a core memory and being like, oh my gosh, like, I can write a book one day, or I can do this because my mom did it. It's the hope.
I love that. Their mom is a badass. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for being here.
Yes, no, it was so fun. It was so nice to meet you.
You as well.